James, we just saw then in your report some of the impact that the conflict in Syria has wrought on Tripoli. You've been reporting in Lebanon for a few days now. What's been your sort of main takeaway from the impact on the country?
Well, one of the main takeaways is indeed, as illustrated in that report, is the sectarian tensions that have been revived by this conflict. It's important to understand that the Hezbollah, which is one of the main Shia political formation here in the country, which is pro-Iranian, has been sending thousands of fighters across the border to prop up Assad's regime. On the other hand, we have the Sunnis that we see in this report from Tripoli, notably, but other regions as well, who've been sending fighters themselves in order to back the opposition. So, of course, these two factions have been at odds here in the country as well. And make no mistake, in that report, indeed, right now, people are obsessed with the economy and this ceasefire is holding up. But Taleb, that young fighter from the Alawite neighborhood, was telling me as well that he does fear that violence might come back to these streets, also because of the dire economic conditions in the country right now. It's also important to note that when it comes to the Christians, well, a lot of Christians are not very happy here in this country to see 1.5 million majority Sunni refugees coming in and installing themselves in these Sunni areas. That's the same goes for Hezbollah. And indeed, well, the Maronite patriarch here has been calling in recent days for the country to remain neutral and to avoid getting embroiled in Syrian politics.
Yeah, James, so the sectarian impact of the war in Syria on Lebanon is extremely clear, but it's worth pointing out as well that there's been a really serious economic fallout from the war in Syria too.
Yes, absolutely. Major impact. Impact because of the sanctions that have been slapped onto Syria by the United States, but also more local issues, like the fact that there is massive trans-border trafficking going on at the moment. These are subsidized goods that are partly paid for by the Lebanese state, who are being shipped over the border illegally in order, there again, to help to prop up the Assad regime. And also because, of course, it is a huge business, but that means there are shortages here. And of course, the Lebanese pound, though that is not all due to the war, has been plummeting, has been basically, its value has crashed against the dollar. Right now, it's about 11,000 Lebanese pounds to the dollar. That is extremely low, and that means people here are really struggling to make ends meet. And that, of course, is putting a lot of pressure. Since we've been here, we've seen roadblocks, we've seen protests on the streets, people saying that they've had enough, that they want the government to find solutions to their difficulties. And indeed, there is a massive unemployment, not only in Tripoli, as you saw in that report, but across the country, with a lot of young people not finding any work and really having dire economic problems.
James André, live for us in Beirut. Thank you very much indeed.